Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Hope you had a nice weekend. And so kicking off the week today is the news that broke very late yesterday. Well, when I say very late, I'm looking at after 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. And to the news that the national leader of APC has put out a statement asking the chairman of his party, Chief John Odige Oyegun, to resign. No doubt that would have caused all sorts of panic and crises. And if you've read this story, it's in all the dailies today, but it broke last night. If you've read this story, the national leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in what has been referred to as the stinker of a release, gave his reasons. Okay, we'll look at that, and it might take more than one sitting, more than one program, one day. But let's start today, and our guest, Dr. Kola Christwealth. He's an educationist and public affairs analyst. Happily, he's not affiliated with any party, and to that extent, it'll be interesting to see what your thoughts are on this. Quite frankly, it's one has this is an opportunity to use one of those words you really get an opportunity to use. It's an event of gargantuan proportions, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because an average Nigerian now is so tensed up.
Yeah.
The polity is tensed, and everything that comes out from any big figure, so to speak, like that of what Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, anything that comes out from such mouth is taken very seriously.
It is.
And in my own opinion, I'll say that this issue should first of all be resolved internally before it's really brought to the fore in the public, because it will further aggravate the tension that is presently prevalent.
You're very right, but perhaps
Nigeria.
You're so right, and this is the wisdom that is usually dispensed when things like this happen with other folk. But when you have people as high up as that, we're talking about the national leader of the party, and we're talking about the chairman of the party. I would think it would go without saying that this had been reflected upon. And by the way, in order to situate all of this, it's a fallout of the Ondo APC governorship primaries, in which the national leader of APC accuses the chairman, Chief Oyegun, of being hands in glove with the opposition on this. And the point of Tinubu really is that the party, APC, that was birthed on the whole ideology of change, cannot accommodate what he referred to as the same business as usual, corruption, interference, interfering with democratic principles, and so on and so forth. So for Tinubu, it's at the core of his whole ideology as a politician and as one of those who helped birth APC. And it's just unconscionable from his point of view what Chief Oyegun has allegedly done. Now, we haven't heard from Chief Oyegun, but I was just reacting to the important point that you made, that usually contentious matters like this should be exhaustively discussed internally. And this is what leaders actually counsel. But when it is now the leaders themselves that are embroiled in this imbroglio, another chance to use one of those words, how does one take it? Certainly there is crisis. How do you settle a matter like this?
Well, it had been taken into the public for already. And just like I said, an average Nigerian is already tensed up. And if Asiwaju's point is that the due process had not been strictly followed, if there had been undue interference in the...
His allegation is that as a one-liner,
yes.
A vote of 6-5 in favor of redoing the election was turned on its head, and so Tinubu annoyingly, with annoyance, had said that how can 5 be greater than 6? So that democratic principle right there goes against everything that any Democrat would believe in.
Has that been really funded?
Yeah. I mean, Tinubu has said so.
Then it has really gone, it has affected the very fabric of the political institution that we're trying to build.
That exactly is Tinubu's point of view.
Okay, so in my own opinion, well, let's hear from the mouth of Oyegu himself. Tinubu has situated his own point. Let us also get the point that Oyegu might want to give for placing 5 over 6.
Okay.
Well,
interesting. But this is, as I said, this is probably going to take more than one program.
Definitely.
That we're looking at.
Definitely.
In fact, somebody has called in now on the issue.
Yes.
God bless, I believe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Douglas. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
Well done, sir.
Surprising news, right?
Actually, this is the first time I was calling in.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. This news, has it surprised you?
Actually, it surprises me. Reason being that somebody, leader of Asiwaju's magnitude, with what happened in Ondo State primary, I think they should have resolved it internally. All right, it's actually too early for them to come to the public to settle, to address the issue. That's my view.
Okay. Okay, that's your preliminary reaction. In fact, perhaps this is not as widely known yet as it probably will be in another couple of hours. As I said, it broke last night, late. The people would have heard about it 9, 10, 11, some even midnight. And then this morning, and even then, even though all the papers have it, Tinubu, Oyegu must go. Crisis hits APC as Tinubu says Oyegu must go. Oyegu must go in another paper, and all of that. This is probably now going to settle. The whole question of the APC primary election in Ondo State, because in the statement that was released by Asiwaju's media office, the point was made that whereas everybody had first of all accepted as a true Democrat the announced winner of the primaries, after that, immediately, what was referred to as incontrovertible evidence emerged that someone had doctored the electoral list and had taken out a huge chunk of numbers. I think the figure was around 150 or so, and replaced with spurious. Now, he said this could not be typographical error. Tinubu made allowances for, look, when a party is new, an organization is new, there will be mistakes. But this is nothing of the sort. This was a calculated attempt, according to Tinubu's media office in the statement, to truncate everything that the party stands for. And while going along that route, the respectability, the integrity of the party. And Tinubu says he's not going to be a part of that. So it's pretty dire, I think, because the gloves are off. Not very much sophistry involved. They were shooting from the message was shooting from the hip, and that's what's worrying. Usually politicians leave room for maneuver, so that well, that word or that expression could be taken a number of ways. There's only one way that this can be taken. Chief Oyegu must go. for the party to continue along the lines of which it was conceived, which is a heavy-duty position to be in.
Yeah, my fear is that it will not...
Let me just quickly take Daniel. I beg your pardon.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Daniel.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. I call you the man with the golden voice. Very, very clearly, this is a very, very simple matter, and I believe strongly that it's a clear interference from the presidency. They did the same thing in Kogi, and this is a clear master plan that is being orchestrated. The same thing in Ondo State. And I believe strongly if Asiwaju, who is the national leader of the APC, is not reading this handwriting on the wall, then that would be shocking to me because he is a political guru. As far as I'm concerned, I believe strongly that the chairman has to go because he has shown that he has very, very strong anti-democratic nature, which is highly irresponsible of a position such as that. So I call on the national chairman, I don't need to call for him to resign, because there is no way in democratic dispensation, democratic process, where a lower number will be admitted higher than a higher number. How can 6 be less than 5? That is pure irresponsibility. So I believe the presidency should stop interfering in the policy of Ondo State and allow the will of the people to stand.
One moment, Mr. Daniel. Are you still there?
That's okay. I'm here.
You brought this statement came out of Tinubu's media office. You involved the presidency just now.
Yes, I am.
How is that?
Very, very simple. Who again in this country will have the political influence to make a Chief John Oyegun take that kind of decision? There is something that is backing him. That is why he can take that kind of costly decision without caring. It is a straight interference from the presidency, and they should leave Ondo State alone. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has done very, very great to bring him to power. He should stop ridiculing him. That's my rendition. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. As you can see, it's going to be an impassioned subject. Tinubu has uncharacteristically, if you ask me, come out, as it were, in terms of analogy, come out from the side roads and is standing right in the middle of the expressway on this so that my position is not confused. It's like Tinubu was saying that it needs to be said this is despicable conduct. Such was the language, the strength of the language in Tinubu's media release. This is despicable conduct for a person in the position of a chairman, which Tinubu had said was expected to lead the party to buffet or support any political, aspirant, whatever the level. So, in the reasoning of Tinubu, all is not well in the state of Denmark. The danger of this is that APC is a new baby. Tinubu himself had allowed that there will be, the whole mistakes of newness. But he was very clear that this is not such a case, that this was direct sabotage of the democratic will of of APC and his whole reason for existence, which was to bring about a change.
Unfortunately, our sense of legacy as Nigerians and mostly as leaders is very, very low. It's not very admirable.
We have a very short memory.
Yeah, legacy in terms of wanting to do things that generations will refer to and will be proud of our memory.
Okay.
And be proud of what we have achieved.
Okay. We're very low on that score.
We are very low on
One
that
second,
score.
please. Let me bring in Matthew calling in from Surulere. Good morning, Mr. Matthew. Mr. Matthew, good morning. I think, is Mr. Matthew there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Good morning, sir. Go ahead. We've been waiting for you.
Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, my name is Matthew. I'm calling from Surulere.
Okay. How did you receive the news? Shocking or expected?
Shocking. What happened really was that
we have respect for Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu. We really respect the leadership of Tinubu. But with the current news, it was shocking because he's looking at the history of political history of Ondo State. It is very clear that the pattern of Ondo politics, if you look at the West, is quite different from the other regions. And we have expected that this issue is resolved internally instead of bringing it open. Bringing it to the public domain might not be of help. Considering the fact that the primary of the governorship candidate of APC in Ondo State was more or less a kind of transparent that public can even attest to it, that it's one of the transparent primary that I have ever heard in the history of APC primary, constituency state primaries. Now, if we're looking at
sir, Mr. Matthew, have you read the statement emanating from Tinubu's media office?
Yes, I have read it.
Okay, so you know about that part. So you know about that part where it alleges that the appeal committee set up had voted 6-5 against.
That one cannot. Your guest said something that has it been funded?
Has it been? Sorry, has it been funded? I didn't understand.
Has it been established?
Has that been established?
Has that fact been established that is 5 against 6 this time around?
That the vote was, that the 11-man committee, it was a 6-5 vote for a redo, but that it had been turned around to 5-6.
Yes.
So how can 5 be greater than 6?
Media office. It has not. We have not heard from Oyegun said, and none of the appeal members have come out that it was.
Okay.
That was the situation.
Okay. All right.
It was just being said. It was an allegation. So it has not been funded yet. So we cannot judge based on that.
Okay.
So I think it's not in the best interest of the party.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. Really appreciate your call. We don't have anything more than the statements to deal with. Is why I'm trying to confine myself to the statements. And as has been rightly said, for sure, Chief Oyegun must be heard from. But the direct allegation, in fact, accusation, is that a vote of 6-5 in favor of conducting fresh primaries was turned on its head.
That will really not be right, but it will still be important to hear from Chief Oyegun.
Oh yes, of course.
I wasn't there, neither were you, neither is there any average Nigerian there.
But Tinubu is making the point that because of that travesty, as seen by the media office in the statement, because of that travesty, the people of Ondo now have, as far as the primaries are concerned, a candidate that did not emerge from a democratic process.
And that will cause a lot of problem eventually. So if there is need to make amend now, then it must be made. If that is what Asiwaju Tinubu is advocating, then it must be made.
Tinubu seems to be advocating just stick with democratic principles, that he, among others, had accepted the result as initially announced until other facts emerged.
The prayer of every Nigerian is for democratic principle to be upheld.
Sure.
The prayer of an average Nigerian is that our democracy should last.
Indeed.
But at the same time, these are allegations by Tinubu. An average Nigerian is not there or wasn't there in the primary.
All right.
So it will just be fair. It will only be fair if we also hear from Chief Oyegun.
Okay.
Chief Oyegun.
To let us hear his version. Quickly.
Yes, but I will seriously, support anything that will promote democracy in Nigeria.
There you go. Good morning, Mr. Dizu. Thank you for holding on. Go ahead now, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir.
I appreciate you all the time.
Thank you.
I want to say good morning to Mr. Creswell.
Thank you.
I love your name.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to make my own contribution to
Sure.
this imbroglio going on in APC.
Sure.
though I don't support APC, but I would like the matter to be held indoor for now. It is too early for Mr. Tinubu to come out to say what he has just said now. Don't forget that it's just less than 17 months that they brought this party to power. And it will not go well to start discrediting it from the top, for the topmost pedestal of Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Mm-hmm. First of all, we have to look at the politics that is being played in here. I'm not in support of the presidency, rather, but I would like to absorb the presidency out of this for now. It will sound somehow to think that the president knows about this. Don't forget there are some political jobbers or political bigwigs from the Southwest that are around the presidency now, and they might just take advantage of the. I'm very sorry to use this word, the docile presidency that we have now, to carry out their nefarious activities. You understand? Some people want to break the political monopoly of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Southwest, and they are using their national power to doing that. The president might not know that. We have to be sincere ourselves.
All right,
it's just in the hand of some people from Lagos and from Ekiti that are behind this. I can say this, but I've been following Nigerian politics so well. Mm-hmm. I don't need to be among them to know what is going on. Okay. It's just between Fashola and the other guy from Ekiti. They want to start emasculating the political strength of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the Southwest. That's just the politics going on.
Okay, thank you very much for giving us your perspective on the matter. And one of the points that Mr. Disu made in there was that he would have preferred for Tinubu to hold his peace for the time being in the interest of harmony and not rocking the boat of a new party. Tinubu actually alluded to the point in the release, in the media release from his office, that look, to stay quiet, to be quiet now, could be much more grievous in future, because only God knows what much greater aberration will be brought to bear on the party, APC, what with all that it professes and stands for, if, people don't speak up now. And I think he thought it was his responsibility to speak up and say that this is not the political organization that I helped to birth. So it looks like they've considered
I think it is important to speak up. Mm-hmm. It is very important to speak up.
Because he said the next, if you keep quiet now in the interest of stability, harmony, Lord knows what else is going to come.
As much as it is important to speak up, it is also very important to look at that other aspect of harmony. Initially I made mention that an average Nigerian is tensed up.
Of course.
Every utterance from any public figure, any important figure in Nigeria today affects an average Nigerian. So for that interest alone, I would wish that this serious problem, this grievous problem, should be sorted out in-house.
Okay.
First, before being brought to the fore.
Indeed. Because as we have it now, if I understand it, we already have Mr. Akeredolu as the candidate of APC as announced.
Okay.
The point Tinubu is making is that having accepted that because he was a Democrat, it's now afterwards, what they think of as incontrovertible evidence has now emerged that the whole thing was a scam. Last caller in this segment, Mr. Richard. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling.
Yes. This morning's program is quite interesting because I can see that our guest is treading cautiously and carefully selecting his words.
Okay. So this is the kind of program... Sorry, sir, for interrupting you. This is really the kind of program and topic that we wanted to start off hearing what the public thinks about this. So your contribution is most invaluable.
I now see the trend. Okay, it's clearer now. That's good. But you see, given what is happening from Kogi to Edo and to Ondo, you will see that it's quite clear that if maybe the body language of Asiwaju as we speak is to nip some things on the board. If not, it will degenerate and it will slip off his hands. Because if you see the way Kogi issue started, it started like this. No, it will be Yaya Bello. No, let James Faleke continue. No. And eventually it was rumored that some power from the presidency decided where that bid will go to, and it went there. Again, it came up in Kogi, in Ondo now. And if the way it's going, from what they have said, like the moderator keeps saying, it will be very wise for all of us to see here from Chief John Odige Oyegu before we can now decide. So anybody coming to take a position now should be. I strongly like the body language of both of you on the studio this morning. It's quite intelligent, and I think it's applaudable. It's good for us not to take side with everybody for now until we finish hearing both sides and what they have to offer us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're not in the business of sides, Mr. Richard. Thank you very much. We got to go on a break. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, let me just quickly say that I'm only trying to be cautious in the interest of Nigerians, because I wouldn't want anything inciting.
No.
At this moment.
We just want to look at the statement.
And not only that,
it's just a statement.
And not only that, it's important to hear from both sides.
Indeed.
It's important to hear from, as much as I really appreciate the stand of Asiwaju on wanting to protect our democracy, it is also important to hear from the other part.
Indeed, we're going to do, we already are doing all that we can to bring Chief Oyegu to the studio as well, to hear from him.
But Asiwaju's position, I must say, is very commendable.
Okay, and we're trying to limit ourselves exclusively to the statement and whatever else comes from there. Stay with us, please. We'll go on a break. We'll continue taking your call on this, something of a surprising news that broke last night. Stay with us, please. Okay, thank you very much for staying with us. It's one of those subjects rare, but we have it, where the ruling party would appear to be heading for a crisis. It hasn't actually ended up there yet, but with the pronouncement of its national leader that the chairman of the party must go if the party is to continue with all its ideals, citing reasons that include treachery against democracy, not necessarily against any one individual, but against the whole democratic process. It's like big news. And we've been joined by Dr. Austin Nweze of Pan Atlantic University. Thank you very much for coming on as well, Austin. Austin, surprising news. I don't know, you probably heard about it.
Yes,
you keep tab of the news, maybe last night?
Yeah, this morning actually.
Oh, this morning, okay.
Yes.
It broke last night.
Yes.
Surprising, right? In fact, people were so cautious, they didn't even want to run with the story because they thought it might just be a prankster.
Well, I had been expecting this to happen, and I admired the Asiwaju's courage, his guts, to actually come out to say this, irrespective of no matter whose ox is gored, and it's good for democracy, and that shows that yes, in this system that we pretend to run our democratic process, it's not there yet, and it's still work in progress. And having read what coming from his media, I think that he owes Nigeria the duty to say what he said.
Okay.
And he owes it to democracy. I remember those days when we were in NADECO and all that. And if he hasn't done what he's doing now, it will be a waste of time. And I mean, what they did last time and the Pronaco days would have been a waste of time.
Okay.
So yes, so I think that yes. When I started participating in politics, I went to my village and I asked them, what do you think, how do you describe a politician? He said a politician is somebody who says one thing and does another thing. And you can see that each time I hear all this, this treachery and lack of commitment to loyalty and all that to democratic principles and tenets, it reminds me of what they told me in 2010. And you can see this, and that's why politicians really tend to protect, they don't trust each other, which is not right. I mean, there should be some level of loyalty.
It's supposed to be a noble profession, but it has gone where it has gone here.
Don't forget what the Indian sage Mahatma Gandhi said about one of the saints of the world, politics without principle. And that's what is playing out right now.
Well, and that's probably why you...
And the most, the worst corruption, one of the worst corruption we can ever experience, not the financial corruption we're talking about, is electoral corruption.
Yeah.
That this kind of thing happening is one of the worst form of corruption we can ever experience in this country.
Indeed. And Lord Tinubu was circumspect in that release because he didn't really go as far as to mention the all-powerful opportunist that took 150 names out and replaced with 150 other names. But people have already started to guess as to who or the location of that particular instance. But
maybe I should also say that for Asiwaju himself, he should go back, in retrospect and say, look, how did I get it, or where did I go wrong? All this while he's been carrying everybody along.
Yes.
So suddenly there's some kind of betrayal of the trusted people around him, and it's like Abuja versus the rest of us.
Sort of. Interesting. Abdulaziz, Mr. Abdulaziz from Alagbado, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, and following the trend and the politics in this country, as a student of politics in this country, I've taken my time to observe the political antecedents of the Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Jagaban. And I want to believe that anything he comments on should be given serious observation. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the national leader of this party, okay, I'm not saying for once, but personally, I don't rubbish anything he says. If he has not seen anything fishy, he wouldn't say anything like that. As much as we should expect the side of the chairman, the party chairman, we should also carefully look into what he has observed as a national leader. Thank you very much.
Indeed, thank you very much. In that statement, for those of you that have read it, you recall that Asiwaju had made the point that Chief Oyegun and his ilk, that was the tone of the message, had boarded the APC bus because it was the best ride in town. Those are the kind of constructions that you have in there. So you see that this is a no holds barred, as if to say nothing could be more important than for me to be seen as clearly as possible on this matter. Tinubu made the point that he and others had accepted the initial pronouncement because they felt it was of a democratic process. But then when incontrovertible evidence emerged subsequently, I think Tinubu saw it as his duty to bring this to the notice of the faithfuls, that the party that you committed to, that you've all elected into power and all of that, there's stuff that you need to know. And as we said, without prejudice to the fact that, yeah, we got to hear from Chief Oyegun. Chief Oyegun, did you actually make 5 greater than 6? In other words, did you give the losing vote the victory in this? And if you did, why? And if you didn't, then the question comes, why would Tinubu with his own hands begin to bring a sledgehammer to
Destroy what he
an
has built.
edifice that he has invested so very much in. And he's aware more than most, because he stated it in his statement, that he made the point in his statement that it's a young organization, so mistakes will be made. But this is nothing like that. This is not young mistakes being made.
Well, if it is proven without any doubt that such electoral fraud was really committed, then there would not be any excuse from any quarter than for proper sanctions to be taken against those people that actually committed such electoral fraud.
But how does this, I wonder how this is going to work out, because Tinubu has pointed out that, look, people have given him, who wanted to respect him, the honorific title of national leader. And he's just accepted it, you know, out of deference, respect to those people who wanted to honor him. But to now be called the national leader of a party that will be engaging in such subterfuge, such deceit of those who brought it to power, is where Tinubu seems to have a problem, that where principles have come in here, and I will not be seen to, I don't think there's any other word for it, a hypocrite. But before you go, Austin, let me quickly bring in Barrister Churchill, who's calling in from Ikeja, then I'll come to you. Good morning, Barrister Churchill.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. You see, when Mr. Wednesday came into the studio, he just made his point very sharp. It appears to look like Abuja versus the restaurant. It was on the open. But the truth of it is this. What actually is happening is the fight that you call the rough fight. Let me ask the question. When the primaries were conducted in Ondo State, were the active leaders besides the national chairman not there? Was INEC not there? Who releases the name of the delegate? Who publishes the name of delegate? These are questions we have to ask and answer. Then again, let's take our mind back to prior to the emergence of Governor Ambode. The internal politics that was played, how the primaries were conducted at Polygon Stadium. We all knew what happened, and we saw the fallout of that primary. It was because of nerves were calm. That is why they didn't come to public and begin to fight the way Ondo State is going. Let me stop pushing. Suppose the preferred candidate of Asiwaju Tinubu had won the primary, irrespective of these emerging evidences that are being run, would he have made it? Not only that, let's also go to what is happening at the National Assembly, particularly the House of Reps. The budget package. So those of us who don't even read newspaper, because I'm one of us, I hardly read newspaper. I look at the policy, that is the way the reforms are played.
Okay.
When you move them as a kind of your chessboard, that's what I look at.
Okay, thank you. I've got to interrupt you now, but thank you very much, because you've made your point and I wanted you to land. But I just wanted to comment that without prejudice to the points that the barrister made, we're sort of limiting ourselves to the media office statement where the direct allegation is made that a vote of 6-5 in favor of conducting fresh election was subverted and turned the other way around. Tinubu, the statement makes, says, had earlier accepted the result as previously announced by INEC because he felt everything was hunky-dory. It was only when incontrovertible further facts came out that he now says, no. I acted in error, and I need to tell you this situation now that I have found it myself. So with that sort of caveat, and this is without prejudice to the other statements that he made, but we've got to keep it to this particular case.
Yeah, let me just remind us what happened in 1983 or so. Bolajobi versus, the mathematical equation when Shagari and, when the lesser vote won, was declared winner. So it's not the first time it's happening. And also in the last, I was also monitoring the other party in my state, the PDP, and how the current governor emerged, and the role they played, and there was a huge, in fact, I witnessed, because I was going my own way and I saw them fighting on the street. One Abuja list, one the state list.
So these things happen in politics.
Yes. They were fighting and all that, and they blocked the roads, and because they said that the Abuja list must not fly. They said it was the state list that must prevail. And eventually, because politics is all about negotiation, and horse trading and all that. Eventually, they were able to resolve, and the governor emerged and stuff like that. So we should tell ourselves the truth that, yes, the kind of democratic process we're going through is alien to us.
One moment, please. Comrade Okoroafo from Abia State. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yuri. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Indeed.
Morning.
Yes, our national asset. You see, my brother, the selling of Nigerian assets that we deal with taxpayers' money is another slave trade scheme.
Wait,
How can one
comrade.
Let's talk about assets.
Comrade, are you talking about selling of national assets? No, that's not the topic now.
I brought my system, that's what I thought.
No, the topic we're discussing is Tinubu saying Oyegu must go. You've not heard that story? Okay. Sorry, I thought he was leading up to something. I think he's watching online, and he must be watching an earlier program or a different program. Okay. Yes, you wanted to come in on the matter.
I think
because people are beginning to, of course, that will happen in analysis and situating a topic, allude to other instances, but the crux of this matter is that 6 and 5.
Yes.
6 is greater than 5.
Yes.
So 6 will carry the day.
Yes.
To now say that 5 has carried the day is the allegation that Tinubu is making. You can't do that. It's not democratic.
Okay. The barrister that spoke before the comrade was saying that if it was the other way around, that Tinubu would have kept quiet.
Yes.
Well, if Tinubu is now trying to make a precedent, to create a good precedent, then I believe that will seriously help our democracy.
He doesn't even know, the barrister, with due respect, doesn't even know that if the situation we have on our hands now, where, Tinubu's preferred, aspirant, not official candidate, if that one had been successful and it was still this upside down mathematics of 5 being higher than 6. He can't say he knows that Tinubu would not protest. But he just assumed.
Yeah, nobody's sure.
Sorry to cut you, but really, Tinubu is now trying to create a precedent that is going to seriously help our democracy.
Okay.
Because if he now cry aloud over this kind of fraud, then he will have the moral. It wouldn't have any moral strength. In future,
if he does not speak up now.
If he doesn't speak up,
which is the point that he made, but he didn't make it in that particular way. He seemed to be making it in a more universal sense. That look, right now you keep quiet because it's more comfortable to do so. When you're now visited by much bigger infringement, you just won't have any plank to stand on. Mr. Jonathan calling in from Lekki. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This is Innocent, not Jonathan from Lekki.
It's not Jonathan.
Innocent from Lekki.
Innocent. We're sorry for calling you Jonathan. Good morning, Innocent.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Yori. Yeah, I want to contribute to your discussion there in the studio this morning. And my point is this. In as much as I'm not supporting what is alleged to have been done by the national chairman of the APC, we are hearing that according to the allegation that their delegate list was swapped or something like that, you know, and eventually through that process somebody emerged. But the point is this, there's also another allegation that people seem not to be paying so much attention to, especially people on the other side, because it has also been alleged that one of the delegates, one of the contestants then, the aspirants, actually bribed each of the delegates with 150,000 naira for each of them. So, and in the process, when he even heard that another of the contestants, camped some delegates, about 200 of them, and was able to give them, whether they say 80,000, so he had to up their own for the 200 to 200,000 each. Now, these are weighty allegations. And a rational mind would say, well, it seems that what happened was that it was like a case of a thief or stealing from other thieves. You know, they were simply outsmarted, you know, because there was a grand plan or grand effort to manipulate the process but through bribery. And what would have happened if the candidate that gave out this large sum of money had won the contest? The first thing he would have done on getting into government office as the governor of that state would have been to try to recoup the money that he has so far squandered during the process. So I think we have to balance things a bit.
Okay.
The people who are crying wolf now, are their hands clean? Did they follow the process the way it should have been followed? That is a fundamental question here. I'm not supporting either of the two sides, but I'm saying that there was a very serious breach that has been alleged to have been committed
Indeed.
by the other side who are crying wolf now.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
my
Innocent.
point.
Good morning to you. The statement that came out of Tinubu's media office was pretty heavy on, it's all about democracy. Democracy, and that is the one thing that people attach to APC, that it would usher in. It would have its own wonkiness, its own creases, but essentially democracy. If you get maybe 85, 90% democracy, okay, we can tolerate for now 10% wrinkles. But to now turn the whole thing upside down and make the lower figure the winner in any voting procedure is what is totally not democratic.
No, it's undemocratic. And again, it gives us opportunity to look at our own democratic process. Does this suit our heritage, our way of life? You know, and that has always been this thing. We are missing the fundamentals. And until you correct some of these things, you know, and starting from the Constitution.
Are you saying, Dr. Mwezi, that I think I've heard this from a ruler of one of the Arab states, that when somebody from CNN was talking to him about democracy, and he pointed out that, look, democracy will mean different things in Oman.
Of course, yes.
It will mean different things in Sri Lanka,
yes.
different things in Nigeria,
that is the
different things in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
So you don't come and give me a textbook definition of democracy.
No.
That's the point you're making?
That's the point I'm making. All these things happening is an opportunity for us to go back, rethink our democracy, you know, and see what is good about the present when we are running, and what can we take out, how can we bring our national heritage, you know, into it, our way of life, our way of doing things. Don't forget that.
But isn't it as simple and simplistic as one man, one vote?
No, you see, because one is this. Remember those days in your communities, there's a process of selection or selecting leaders in your community. Why can't we let that evolve?
Okay.
Countries like Botswana, when they gained independence in the 60s, that was where they started to build out the democratic process. For you to be a chief in Botswana, there was a process. They brought it to their democratic system. But now, there was no opportunity to do that, and we're saddled with this borrowed democratic destiny, irrespective of our natural way of relating with each other, selecting our own process. I think we need to go back and take our heritage into consideration.
It's almost like our religion as a matter of fact.
I will not agree totally with him.
Okay, please make your point.
Yeah, because
it's going to be the last one.
Yeah, because of the very nature of Nigeria itself, multinational, I would say. We're a country of many nations. You know, yes.
That's why we need it.
So it's trying to harmonize the different democracies.
That's why we need it.
No, so harmonizing those differences would not be easy.
So we go by the textbook. It's better.
No, it is
it's
better.
More convenient.
It's not better.
I wouldn't say.
Because we're coming from different.
100% going by the textbook. Yeah. We could introduce some very little.
Because the textbook is really American democracy.
Yes. So that is what we're saying now. Because we're from different places.
Because of our peculiarity,
that's what we need.
It will not be easy. It will not be easy to evolve.
The way you select your leaders in your village, it's not the same way you select my own village.
Yeah. So how can we then harmonize that?
I guess that's the question that we're going to have to keep
it's
on
easy,
asking.
but for another time.
But it's going to be for another
time. Yes,
it's
easy. I have the solution.
So for now,
I have the solution.
How I wish I had the time to
No, next time.
No, next time.
Yeah.
For now, I think the American democracy is still the best for us at the moment.
It's not.
Okay. That's a fine place to leave it. This disagreement is a fine place to leave it, and we'll pick it up again tomorrow.
Because
I think this story still has a fair amount of legs left in it. Thank you very much, Dr. Austin Wenze, Pan-Atlantic University, and Dr. Kola Christwealth, Public Affairs Analyst. I'll be back tomorrow with a fresh edition of the program. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.